Hello and welcome. We are back with another day, another stream. We're on micropainting number 19 today. Let me just make sure that this is working. It seems to be working. So hello. Yeah, we're on micropainting number 19 today, and we are going to be also, I think, working on our ocean painting a little bit today, so that's very exciting. We're gonna go with the flow and see what happens today. Don't really have a plan for our micro painting today. If you've been here before, you know that kind of just the goal of these micro paintings is just to paint something small, even if it's little bitty, every single day. So we're gonna throw some paint at a little canvas and see what happens. So I'm gonna flip you around. Here we are. So today, as always, we will go through the paints that I will be using. You are welcome to do a paint along if that's something that you're interested in, but you definitely don't have to. So I think we're gonna go with some We're gonna go with some cerulean blue from Artist's Loft today. And we're gonna go with some neutral gray, which we haven't pulled out in a little bit. It's been a couple days. It's been enough days that it's not immediately on top. Interesting. Neutral gray from Artist's Loft. Neutral gray. And we're gonna go ahead and grab some white. This is titanium white from Artist's Loft. And we'll grab some black from, you guessed it, Artist's Loft. Alright. So we've got cerulean blue, neutral gray, and titanium white, as well as our black paint. And we'll go ahead and jump in and give it a little bit of a squirt. Doesn't need to be super wet for my dots right now. You might hear a little bit of noise in the background. I'm not 100% sure what's going on outside my window, but something definitely is. So we'll come in with some of the neutral gray first, maybe. There we go. That's better. I'm kind of just putting a decent amount up here at the top, and this is still a fairly dry canvas, and then just kind of working it down with some vertical strokes. We're just going in a downward motion though. This is kind of giving me almost like a reverse mountain feel right here, which I kind of enjoy. I think if we bring this down a little bit more, you might be able to see a bit better. Kind of split the difference between your best view and my best view. That works. I like that. I like that that's giving almost like an inverted mountain situation. Should we roll with that? Or should we keep going on my idea? We're gonna play with this as it is. That idea of like that feeling of like inverted mountains here. So I'm gonna grab some black and some of our cerulean blue. We're gonna mix that to create kind of a real dark blue-gray color. And we're gonna kind of just come in to the spaces that created. So I am just using downwards, very small motions here to kind of maintain that kind of feel that we got before. Alright. So we kind of just formed that border boundary kind of situation in between where that gray stopped and the white started. And we'll come back in now with the same color now that we have that kind of line and fill in a little bit more. Alright, so we're kind of just bringing this all down to the same level here. So I kind of want to make it all reach that space right there. I'll flip around so that you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. And work it up instead of down for a minute. If you are not already following me on Instagram, my Instagram is visible right there. Painting_on_wheels. You can follow me on Instagram to stay up to date with what's the latest in the world of painting with me. I do share when I'm going live on my story over there. You can also make sure that you have notifications turned on for Twitch so that you can be notified when we go live. Kind of a fan of that. We'll give this brush a little rinsey rinse. And then we're gonna go in and do kind of the same thing with just a lighter blue-gray color. So instead of mixing with black, we're gonna mix with the neutral gray. And we'll grab a little bit of black just to kind of create kind of a middle ground color. But we want to make sure that it still has that little bit of a tint of blue to it. So this one has blue, black, and gray to it. And our goal is to create a color that's just like a shade or two lighter. And then we're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna add in what's gonna seem like another kind of layer of mountains. And we don't really have that kind of border outline situation like we did before from the light gray paint. So we're gonna kind of just do the same thing that we did before in terms of just small strokes up to create kind of like this not smooth feel to it. And I think we'll start higher on this one and work it down a little bit. And so we'll do the same thing again. We've got that kind of outline. We're going to bring it down, fill in the space. And so we'll bring this down to about the same level. The paint might mix a little bit. It's happening for me. That's okay. To make sure that this is getting kind of some texture to it, I'm also making sure to just kind of load up the brush and just kind of pat it in there. And because we have that darker color behind it, it's creating a kind of nice little effect. I'll go ahead and bring this down a little bit further. And we'll just keep bringing it down until it kind of just runs out of vertical movement to it. There we go. Give it another rinsey rinse. And let's add one more line of kind of these blue tinted mountains. So we'll do the blue with the neutral gray. If you don't like how light that color is, you can always add in a little bit of black. Because again, we want it to kind of be like a one tone different. We want to make sure that we're getting that hint of blue peeking through it though. All right, we've got a third color here. We're gonna do the same thing. I want this one to be up over here. And then same thing, and then just bring it down. just bring it down more. At this point, I'm kind of just bringing it all the way down. All right. So we've got 3 kind of layers of mountainous effect here. What we're going to do now is we're going to take some of our black, just a little bit, and a lot of that blue, and we'll mix it with some white this time. So the point of using the white and the black is to create a much lighter gray color than we've been using. And we're gonna establish a shoreline with it. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to mix in some more blue. And instead of painting the whole lower section with this blue, I'm going to start just streaking in it. If you've been here before, we've used this kind of streaking technique more than once, especially with water. So we're kind of just streaking it in. We can add some white to this mixture to make a lighter color. We want to make sure that this is a little bit more heavily tinted blue than our other colors that we've been using. You want to be able to tell that there's blue in this gray. So we'll go back in with some more. And same thing. Just little streaks. And so we're really just using a combination of blues and the gray. We kind of just want to fill this lower area as much as we can. Just using little strokes. Now we have kind of a water situation. Rinse the brush. Sip of tea. Now, we've got a couple of options for what we can do. We can go back in and add more detail in certain areas if we want to, which I will take some more of our middle mountain color and kind of just come in and give it a little bit more. Just because our lower mountain color is similar enough that I want to make sure we're getting a fair amount of definition. So I'm really just loading up my brush and patting it in where I feel we need more mountainous definition. If we're working towards the edges of the area, we're using upward strokes, but otherwise we're kind of just patting it in. I'm gonna grab some more white, add it to kind of that watery section that we were creating. So what we're gonna do, and we could really wait for this to dry, but I don't feel like it. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some kind of a fog situation to the edge of our kind of shoreline. So I've got my brush loaded up with paint. I dipped it in water after loading it with paint, and we're gonna come in here and kind of just dab that. I think we need to use our more traditional fog technique for this though. So I'm gonna grab that paint off of my kind of palette thing here. Put it into one of my wells, add some more white. Then we add water. And so all that we're doing is we're mixing the acrylic paint with water until A, we get a color we like, but also until B, it is a very, very, very watery consistency. We don't want it to be chunky. This is the primary reason why we use these paint wells at this point. Because for the most part, my choice of palette is just a piece of paper. And the reason I use that is because it creates what I call companion pieces for our art, which are basically just like, it's the paint palette. It's the paint palette that we then just mash around and play with. So we've got a very, very wet concoction. We want to make sure it's not chunky. We want to make sure it's kind of that light blue-gray. We're gonna get some on the brush and just kind of lightly dab it in. And just keep dabbing. When you start to collect some of the paint from underneath, wipe it off, get some more, and keep dabbing. I'm putting it down into that water section. I'm putting it up into the lower portion of the mountain. This is kind of just a heavy fog that we're creating. There we go. I'm happy with this. Let me bring it over for you to take a peek. So we've got kind of just this triple layered mountain on a gray sky. You'll be able to see it a little bit better whenever I post it on social media. Make sure you're following me on Instagram if you are not already. That way you can see the finished product once it's dry. So now we're going to work on this guy. If you remember, this is our kind of under the sea idea painting. Bring that all the way back down. Scoot you back a little bit. Make sure you can see pretty much the whole canvas. Alrighty. So what I want to do is, using that same kind of technique that we used before, we are going to create a kind of system of waves in here. So we have a tendency to use that kind of just heavy paint streaking system. We've used it a couple of times now. So we're going to make sure that we have some phthalo blue now. So we're grabbing some phthalo blue, we've got some white, we've got some gray, we've got black. We're going to need more cerulean blue. So we'll go ahead and grab that now. And so what we're going to do, everything just shifted. What we're going to do is we're going to take our more medium-sized small brush that's a little bit longer but not super long, and get it wet, dab it off. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use that same system of just like streaking a little bit to create some waves. So our kind of center point of this painting is going to be this blob here, because that's going to be kind of like the idea of where the sun is coming through. And so everything is going to kind of work around that in kind of darkening colors. Now, that being said, we've got a couple of other light spots. We'll figure out what to do with those. We'll figure it out. But we're going to start more lower, and we're going to just come in cerulean and phthalo. I'll go ahead and mix some cerulean and phthalo on our palette to a kind of nicely mixed color. That way we have that available to use. We want to be able to kind of have all the colors and all the mixtures kind of preset on this, just because just because I trailed off and didn't finish that statement. Just because we don't want to be doing too much mixing and blending on here. We want the ability to kind of just have those blend a little bit more naturally. So the goal here is to create waves. So we're not using straight lines. I'm going to kind of let them drift off into kind of a point, but not necessarily like a point. We're kind of just letting the paint run out as it comes out to what's kind of a point. So we'll do the same thing over on this side, starting with our phthalo. And then we'll pick up some of that cerulean mix, go over what we did, and let it go out. In this middle portion, we'll go over it a little bit more so that those are mixing just a touch. And so we've created a couple of waves. And then we're going to do the same thing. So on that one, I started it actually kind of like coming up from off the canvas. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And we're going to keep kind of just doing this, and we'll build it up so that it's lighter towards this portion and darker the further we move away. So as we're here in this lower portion, in this kind of furthest away portion, remember this is our furthest away point over here, because this is the furthest corner. Like if you were to measure, this area over here would be the darkest. And so this area over here is going to be where we have the most just straight phthalo, and towards the middle of it we'll have a little bit more of that cerulean mix, and we're going to kind of keep just working this. We can start in the middle, but what I'm going to do if I'm starting not off the canvas is then take it out in both directions, letting it fade out. We can also cross over some of our waves if we want to. So I can have a wave kind of start here and go up over that one and then out. Let this be loose. Let this just be whatever it wants to be, kind of. We'll come in here, fill this space with some of that cerulean mix. One of the fun things about doing waves kind of like this is that we can just kind of let the hand do whatever it wants. Again, we're kind of just building up the waves. This is really what we're doing. It's gonna be kind of a quiet stream today, I think, because this is really about it. We're just swooping and letting the waves of this water kind of form as they want to. I'll mix up some more cerulean and phthalo as I need to. You also don't have to have it be a perfect mix. You can leave it a little bit of that marbled color if you want. I really like using the fact that we have this stream to kind of get another look at what I'm doing, because I'm sitting here and I'm hyper focusing on the way that these waves look, and I immediately start to become critical of it myself. And so having the ability to glance over at what y'all see on the stream and see how it looks is really quite nice. It's really quite nice. It's a great way to kind of just get affirmed that what I'm trying to do is working and that it looks well. So this corner over here is going to start to stay darker while the rest is going to start to become lighter. So we're going to be using more of that cerulean mix and then incorporating more of the actual cerulean as well. So I'm going to focus for a few minutes just on this corner over here until we get to about here, and then we'll move on and start doing the lighter colors. But this is the kind of section where I want this darker color to exist in the waves still with pretty potency. So we're kind of just moving at a diagonal up until we get to a point where it makes sense that these darker colors would be lighter or lightening. So now we're going to shift to using primarily that cerulean mix color, and I'm going to come in first with those areas that we just finished and kind of blend it out from there. And so we're going to keep a pretty good cerulean mix going at this point because that's our primary color now. And we're going to keep doing just the same thing. So we're making sure to go a little bit down into what we've already done. That way it's a little bit less jarring, the shift. So I know a lot of what I'm currently working on you can't really see well because it's so closely matching the other stuff. You can also pull in some more of that phthalo blue if you want in here and just kind of add a little bit more detail to some of these waves if you like that. So it's kind of a transition thing. I'm kind of just grabbing a tiny bit of that phthalo blue with the cerulean mix. So we're starting to incorporate a little bit more of our cerulean now, doing the same thing I was just talking about where we're grabbing some of the mix with some of the cerulean and just letting that kind of blend on the canvas. So we're coming in with some just cerulean closer to our sun point. Some sips of tea. So we kind of want to make sure that the circle of lighter waves that we're doing in here kind of have the same radius all the way around it. These waves are just cerulean right now. So we'll grab some white and add it in here towards the center, just a little bit. Alright, so that gives kind of a light area right up in there. And we'll keep working our way out. This is a slow process and it's just a quiet stream today. Hopefully you're enjoying it if you're here. And so we'll mix up some more cerulean because that's going to be our primary color for the rest of this. We'll end up having various colors of the cerulean mix. And that'll be good. So we have made it all the way across, up and down, round and round. So now we're just kind of going back through and adding in little bits more where we feel like it's needed. All right. I am so happy with this right now. This looks so good. It makes me so happy. Oh my goodness. Yay. Okay. We have been at this for a little bit more than an hour. Between our micro painting and our macro painting. So we're going to go ahead and call it a wrap there. Oh, my hands hurt a little bit. That's okay. So we'll go ahead and flip us back around. Awesome. So I am really happy with how this painting is looking. I've gone kind of back and forth on whether or not I liked what I was doing with this Under the Sea painting, but it looks like I'm really happy with it so far. If you are not already, make sure you are following me on Instagram. While our micro paintings are not for sale. If you've seen one that you like, feel free to go check out the Instagram to see the other ones that we've done. If you see one that you like, feel free to reach out to me and we can have a little conversation about maybe doing a commission for you. Reaching out on Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me. You can also view a couple of my paintings on Etsy at Painting by Shelby Lynn. But we only have, I think, about 3 up there right now, so that's just a work in progress. Your best bet is to, if you see something, if you want a commission, what have you, reach out to me on Instagram. That is just kind of the place to go unless we have a pre-established means of communication, in which case, feel free to use that pre-established means. We will be back tomorrow. That's kind of the plan, is to come back tomorrow to do another micro painting, maybe work on our ocean painting some more. We're getting to the point now on this ocean painting where the background is now pretty much done. With some exceptions in terms of like touch-ups and stuff, the background on this is pretty much done. Which means that now we're going to get into the fun parts. And so I'm really excited for this because the idea is that we're going to be laying on the ocean floor looking up. And so it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really great. But if you joined us today, thank you so much for joining us live. If you didn't join us live, I appreciate you tuning in after the fact. Eventually, we're going to get to the point of putting these on YouTube. We're just not quite there yet. Regardless, thank you. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And I hope you're able to make something uniquely you today. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.